What's up, Internet? My name is Attack Slug, and this is my E3 conference chatter for Sony 2015. Just wrapped up, and it seems like Sony kind of went in on, hey, all those games you wish existed, guess what? We're announcing them. Holy shit. So, starting off the show with a bang, a blockbuster. It is The Last Guardian. That's right, The Last Guardian still exists, and it is coming to PS4 next year. So that's kind of but it still exists. They've been working on it for like 7 years now. The Last Guardian is still a thing. Fingers crossed it will actually eventually come out at some point. I do want to play it as someone who was a fan of Echo and Shadow of the Colossus. So Last Guardian was how you kick off your show. How can it get any better? It got better. But right after Last Guardian, we have a new IP from Guerrilla Games. They finally let those guys make something besides Killzone, and it is called Horizon Zero Dawn. It's like post-apocalyptic, but it's like post-apocalyptic. So it's like the rebuilding after the apocalypse happened, and there are like robot dinosaur dog things. I don't know how to describe it, but it looked pretty awesome. I think it's some kind of an RPG. Got kind of, a Dragon Age, Witcher-ish vibe from the world there. And certainly as someone who is not a fan of FPS, really, and not a fan of Killzone, this looked pretty amazing. And it's like Monster Hunter almost, but with robots? I don't know. But I want to play it. I want to know more. Announced in this conference, but I would assume we're going to hear more about tomorrow, there is a new Hitman game, and they're just calling it Hitman. So I don't know if this is back to basics, a reboot, or what that is, but it's Hitman, and it's more Hitman. Pre-order to get access to the beta, which seemed to be a recurring theme this evening on their screen, because right after that was, hey, Street Fighter V, which we have already known about, pre-order to get access to the beta. And as someone who does not really care about having to test your games to make sure they work for you, they should work in the first place. And as someone who, unless it is a niche game from a small publisher, does not want to pre-order, fuck pre-order for the exclusive beta. I don't give that much of a shit. I have so many unfinished games in my collection that pre-ordering for a beta is the last thing I am thinking about. But moving on to things that I do want, and I am super excited for. No Man's Sky on-stage demo, unscripted apparently on-stage demo. They're just going to go to a planet and see what happens. That looks really cool, and they're going to supposedly be announcing the release date soon. We'll see if it makes it out this year. I would like it to happen, but that game, I want it to be done before they release it. I don't want it to be broken, so please, Hello Games, finish that shit, polish that shit, make that shit awesome, and I am super excited for No Man's Sky. Moving on, Media Molecule has a game called Dreams. I think it's a game. I don't know. It's a artwork, make your own puppeteer. I don't know what that is, and it's baffling, and I'm just gonna move on because I don't know. But speaking of what is it, they showed Firewatch again. The art style is amazing. Campo Santo, Ali Moss, but I don't know what the hell Firewatch is. So if someone could explain it to me, that'd be great. But there was a new little bit of Firewatch. Then moving on to things that I'm just kind of going to gloss over here because I don't give a shit. Destiny DLC, don't care. Assassin's Creed Syndicate, don't care. World of Final Fantasy, little chibi Final Fantasy things with characters that you know and love on the PS4 and the Vita. Guess what? They mentioned the Vita by name in their conference. That thing is not totally dead, but it's still the Vita. But that preceded one of the announcements that has been years and years in the making, and I am in disbelief that they are actually going forward with. That's right. It is a remake of Final Fantasy VII. That is not even the biggest news of this conference, but it is huge news. The remake of Final Fantasy VII is actually happening. Square's like, you know what? People want this, and they will give us money for this, even though it's going to be so expensive to make that. So you're remaking a PS1 game. It's going to be so expensive. But the trailer looked really good, and hopefully they can deliver on that and not take another 8 years to make it. So that'd be great. There was a very short Devolver Digital. Hey, they're making games with Devolver Digital, PS4, Vita. It was Ronin, it was Eider, it was Mother Russia Bleeds, and it was Crossing Souls. The third of which, or the fourth of which, was a Kickstarter game that was funded and looks really cool. But speaking of Kickstarter, this Sony conference broke Kickstarter with what is possibly the biggest announcement of video games at E3 thus far, and that is Shenmue 3. Yu Suzuki was on stage and said, hey, guess what? If you want to see Shenmue 3, give us money. And they launched the Kickstarter during the Sony conference and subsequently broke Kickstarter. That was like an hour ago. It's already at like $500,000. They want $2 million, which seems real low for that. $2 million seems super low. They'll probably get like 5, 6, 10, who knows. But that's a big effing deal. So those are your pillars for this thing of holy shit, Last Guardian, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Shenmue 3 of those can't possibly happen. They're all happening. So it's been a long day. It has been a long E3 Monday. There was a Batman thing of like, here's some Scarecrow PlayStation exclusive thing. That game's out in a week, so whatever. They very briefly touched on Morpheus. I did want to hear more about Morpheus, but they kind of very briefly showed a little bit of gameplay. Obviously, you can't really show that on an E3 stage. It doesn't really work as well as you would want it to. It's kind of like, well, it's altered for E3 stage stuff. And the thing that I had predicted in my Microsoft video is that Sony now has the exclusive Call of Duty. We get the maps first, we get the DLC first deal. They showed Black Ops 3 on their stage, so that now the tides have changed. It shifted, obviously, because PS4 is the market leader, and Activision is, smart. And from what I'm hearing, Activision had, gone to Microsoft and said, hey, we want to, keep doing our deal. And Microsoft did not want to pony up the money to make that happen, so they went to Sony. And Sony's like, yeah, I guess. Well, I'm going to assume they paid them less because, they didn't really need it. It just kind of, Activision wanted that money. Anyway, Call of Duty, DLC, whatever. There was a montage that said, hey, yes, the Vita still exists. Here are a handful of Vita games, but also other PS3, PS4 games, and I saw very briefly for 2 seconds in that montage Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5 is supposed to be hitting this summer for the PS3 and digital only, but damn it, I need me more Yakuza. That game needs to sell well because I want to see more games in that series be brought over in English, please. And that moved us right into Star Wars, and there was Star Wars in Disney Infinity and Star Wars Battlefront. They want PlayStation to be their home for Star Wars, and that's alright, I guess. That's something. And then, the feed kind of broke a little bit. But then we move it into the closing of the show. The closing of the day for Monday E3 Day 1, and I am wiped out. And it's Uncharted 4. And Uncharted 4 live demo broke. Nathan Drake just kind of stood there. And they had to cut to a pre-recorded video. Because obviously, you don't ever go to E3 live press demo in front of millions watching on the internet and not have a backup plan. So the backup plan was, hey, cut to our pre-recorded gameplay of this demo on this Jeep. And it looked really good. Like, what they showed looked amazing. It was this action sequence on a Jeep. And that was fantastic. But unfortunately, it was not a live demo because the game broke. I don't know if the controller wasn't synced or what the problem was there, but that's kind of a shame for Naughty Dog. It happens. It happened last year with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed. Like, these things, when you're doing a live demo on a stage show, no matter how many you rehearse it, no matter how much you plan ahead, things break. So notable by their absence that I wanted to see on stage. Where was Persona 5? That game is supposed to be out, according to Atlas, this year. Where was that? And Shuhei Yoshida had teased on Twitter that there was Bloodborne DLC, and we saw nothing of that Bloodborne DLC in this conference. Perhaps there'll be a trailer at some point this week. Perhaps they'll still mention it. But considering that Miyazaki is also directing Dark Souls 3, as I had mentioned in the Microsoft video, Don't know what's going on with the Bloodborne DLC expansion. I don't know what team was working on that. I don't know how that's gonna happen, go on, whatever. But at this point, I am kind of done talking because that's been 4 press conferences. There are 2 more tomorrow, and I have a bunch of Nintendo independent things to look at, hopefully on this channel soon. There is a giant moth in my room now. That's not fucking cool. That's not fucking cool at all. And I want to look at that Microsoft. Get out of here, moth. That Microsoft Xbox One early access stuff, The Long Dark and Elite Dangerous have a trial demo thing. I'm going to look at those hopefully in the coming days, and then that'll be my E3 coverage, more or less. That'll be awesome. So look forward to that. Stay tuned to this channel. Plenty more videos coming as long as my voice holds out. It's done pretty good today, so I feel pretty good about that. And I will tell you that, as always, I am your host, Attack Slug. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in to my very scattershot E3 coverage. I hope you've enjoyed what's been out thus far. I promise more actual video game stuff with video games, not just me talking, coming soon. And now it is like 11 o'clock and I'm exhausted and I'm going to bed. And I'll see you tomorrow morning for Nintendo, right here on this channel.